I tried here to really broad bucket summarize the areas Frank listed, and as a way to start thinking about how we approach this work now for these next series of meetings. Because Frank, thank you very much for that summary of the issues associated with each of these things. But every single one now needs to be dug into. So I want to make sure what I'd like to do with you all right now is find out what we might be missing off this list of concerns. So and Frank, you tell me whether or not I captured it all. The whole question of the siting, the geophysical characteristics of where in the harbor this goes. That's related, obviously, to the character of the material we find there. What's the ability for it to seal and not leach out of the bottom? That's what I thought that was about. The cell construction design itself. Mechanical dredging protocols, how the dredge actually works to dispose of the stuff. The air quality concerns, and mitigation, water quality concerns, and I put this together with downstream recontamination, if you guys can read my handwriting here. The process of the filling protocols, this whole issue of settling time, and do we need a larger cat, do we need interim stuff, all that stuff. The cap structure, whether or not the sand cap is sufficient or does it need to be activated, all of that stuff. And then this is just the long-term monitoring, operation maintenance, all that sort of the ongoing stuff. Those the right buckets, Frank? Just broad. Other technical concerns, folks want to think should be on this board.
Frank, in your experience in Oregon, what is the plan to monitor the water column itself? As all this activity goes on, I would think that'd be a simple, effective way to do that. I haven't heard a lot about that. And what is done? What does Jacobs do now to monitor the water column?
I don't know.
Well, Jacobs is working on the Upper Harbor dredging, and we have a whole program in place that's been developed over several years to where we think we're adequately doing it. We pretty much characterized how we're dredging and how we actually doing the dredging. And what we do is it's actually on the web. It's water quality monitoring report. You look at any one of those reports, and it shows you, it describes what the program is, what it's about, what is actually done, and it shows results. You know, it also shows like a flow chart of if X is exceeded, mainly NTUs, you know, turbidity, then do this. If it's exceeded at another point, then this. So it's, or stop work, put in engineering controls, that kind of thing. As far as the water quality monitoring, with the CAD cells that have been done to date, there are performance standards that can be found in the harbor plan, which is also on the web, and those are used. We're actually going through that right now with the contractor and looking at the quality assurance plans, sampling analysis plans and all that.
Do you have any data from any monitoring done in Riverside Park in the last 6 months, last year?
Riverside Park?
Riverside Park area?
Riverside Park, all I know is that I believe you took some samples from your boom.
Yeah, and I have that data from Battelle, and I have it from the labs, the people that did it in the Gulf. I have that data.
You have data from what?
I have data with me where I've tested for the bioaccumulation. We're showing PCBs, we're showing a lot of things.
Bioaccumulation?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
The ability is like when the contaminants in the water, it bioaccumulates. If there's 2 parts per billion of PCBs and you're an oyster or an organism beneath the water, and you're exposed to 2 parts per billion, how does that, after 3 days, is it 15 parts per billion? Is it 20? Is it 25? I'm developing a whole protocol with the Department of Defense and Battelle. And I realized that Jacobs Engineering, through their lobbyists, initiated an EPA letter to my house and all, but that's irrelevant. I'm focused on the facts here. Yeah, well, I've got facts and data, and this is going to be science-based. And I'm interested. I'm going to hand my report to Frank today, and I'm going to work directly with Frank. And I'm happy to do this for the benefit of the community.
Thank you. The matter of...
Could you let everybody know who you are?
Scott Smith, Flex Solutions.
Thanks.
The matter of monitoring is one that needs some discussion. When you come down and you're monitoring, and the character of the monitoring you're going to be doing around a hydraulic dredging operation is going to be different than the monitoring around a mechanical dredging operation. I can tell you one of the major difficulties that we've run into over the years is the performance, the engineering end of things. You set up some monitors around the dredge, and they indicate an elevated suspended material concentration, your turbidity, your NTUs of the units, the sediment that's being stirred up, elevated above some level that you've set as an action criteria. It ends up shutting the barge down, shutting the dredge down, which pushes out the time on project, and maybe pushes out the time on project right off the end of the year if you only have a particular time. So there are operational realities that have to come together with the monitoring realities, and it's a very neat balance over the years that we tried to strike with that. Army Corps is never too keen on seeing a monitor right up against their dredges.
Because Frank, I'm working with the Secretary of State. I actually met Hillary Clinton, which was a senator, and we're in a way to monitor for the Keystone Pipeline. I'm trying to put the science behind it to say what is in or what is not in the water, and that's how Battelle and the Department of Defense is involved too. And I've been to Senator Scott, so I'm happy to make all this available to you. I'm focused on putting the science behind it and knowing what's in the water in the most transparent way possible, directly with the EPA.
All right, thanks. So there's a fair amount of stuff to be talked about when we set this out. We know how to do it. It's a question of where to do it, what it means, kind of monitoring, air as well as water, how do you bring that into operational reality.
So if I got water quality and benthic monitoring and impacts be one session. Good. Mark, you had your hand up?
I did earlier,
Yeah.
a couple of things. Seemed like Frank raised a couple issues that question fundamentally that whether the capacity is adequate, given the uncertainty about consolidation and how it would be managed, and whether or not it's in the right place with respect to groundwater flow. But also thinking about, I would assume EPA is going to be charging right along on a design process. Wondering whether or not, if there are a handful of these issues, Frank, that come right to the top that would affect the design and siting, and if we can identify those. I look at, air quality monitoring to a certain extent. You can build protocols that would mitigate that almost anywhere you would put that. And in terms of water quality monitoring, most of these areas that you would put it would be monitorable, and your dredging operations would be monitorable. I'm just wondering if there are a handful of issues that we might have some hope to impact to make sure that these are addressed before they start digging the hole.
Right, I would think there would be, absolutely. There are certainly some issues that are very important and are quite doable.
It seems like groundwater, for example, is one of those. Whether or not somebody puts seepage meters in, or however you want to address that in the context of the sampling that's coming up, to take advantage of the opportunities, and they may be limited,
Right.
to get the data you need sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I'm not optimistic that EPA is going to sit back and take the time that would be necessary to address all of these issues sufficiently before they start digging that hole.
So you raised a good, both of you guys. What is, that actually has to get done after first. This is in the right order, isn't it? Before you start putting anything in the harbor, the siting issues need to all be addressed. Did anything else take precedent over the borings, the groundwater evaluation, the bedrock evaluation, the seismic work? All that stuff is job number one, right?
Yes,
Is that correct?
Yeah, there was actually a question that Frank had about the number of, I think they were vibratories. And that is mainly, I'm speaking for the HTC and Apex. If you guys want to either talk or correct me, you're welcome to. But The reason for a number of arbor is that most of the arbor coring is done to get a suitability determination for offsite disposal of material to go to either Rhode Island or Mass,
Mhm.
Cape Cod offsite disposal. And they've actually just recently increased the number of corings per area. They'd like to see it tighter, more samples per area. So that was has actually just been recently raised from the work plan, which you'll be able to look at too.
I think I got that 30 from the work.
Yes, but there's actually going to be some more, but
There's gonna be more.
yes.
There's two things that drive me crazy, just like the audit. One is acronyms, HDC.
Urban development.
I know,
Oh,
I'm saying.
There's another reason as well.
The other is doing it because you have to do it.
No.
It seemed to me, that's why I got to the question of the heterogeneity of the site. It seemed to me that if I ran, and we've done this in